Our next speaker, right away, let's go into it. J.J. Conway. J.J. Lieutenant Colonel was the first black person to serve as a physicist in the Air Force, despite being told by the Air Force, and I quote, blacks can't do physics. She served for 23 years and founded and chaired the Nuclear Threats Community of Interest, one of our nation's top technical bodies comprised of 17 different agencies. Although science will always be her first love, JJ became a financial planner after returning from a 6-month military trip to discover her house sold, divorce papers, and over $845,000 debt to her name. Adapting to life as a military single mom, JJ learned how money worked and how to make it work for her quickly yet ethically. I like that. That's she now teaches others the same personal growth and financial management skills that allowed her to dump that debt and begin building wealth. So, JJ, please. Thank you.
Thank you. To Aaron and everyone who was responsible for putting this event on. Thanks to Visit Allen and all those who have brought us here. I've enjoyed myself immensely. I want to encourage everyone today, though. There's a lot of money in this room. There's a lot of money in this town. There's a lot of money in the greater metroplex, but none of those is the richest place in the world. It's been said that the richest place in the world is not the banks, it's not the wealthy pocketbooks and the credit cards, but it's actually the cemetery. Because that's where all the unrealized dreams are buried. And that's where all of the hopes that we had that have been set aside are buried. And that's where all of the potential that we had to do something amazing with our lives are buried. And I'm going to challenge you today. My topic is about it's never too late to leave a financial legacy. And I want to challenge you today. Don't let your financial legacy end up in the cemetery. Before I talk a little bit more about actually how it's never too late to leave a financial legacy, I want to talk to you about why I'm so passionate about this. You heard a little bit of my story, and it starts off no better. I was pretty slow as a kid. That's what the teachers told my mom, and they had no expectations for me. If I worked hard one day, maybe I would be a maybe I might be a cashier, although they thought that was going to be a little bit too advanced for me. The world set me aside, and so did most of the people around me. But I'm thankful for a particular teacher, Mrs. Gilman, who saw something in me and made it her mission to figure out what she could do to help my life. She identified that it was my reading comprehension. I was able to read the words, I was able to repeat back words, but I didn't understand what I was saying. And report after report after report, she wrote on me until at the end of the year, she said my comprehension was on par with my grade level. I am so thankful for Mrs. Gilmore because she taught me not to let other people's limitations of me cause a limitation on my life. I'll admit it, I was never the smartest kid in the room, but I was always the hardest working, and that's how I earned my free ride to the Air Force Academy, where, as you have heard, I had trouble declaring my major because, as the physics advisor explained, you can't do it, you'll never succeed. Why can't I do it? I meet all the grade requirements, I've taken the classes, I've got the experience, and quite frankly, nobody wants to do physics anyway. You can't do it, he says to me. He says, blacks can't do physics. You'll never last. Well, I know I can be a little bit of a cream puff. And since retiring from the Air Force, I like a little bit of a cream puff. But you are not going to tell me what I can't do. So I declared physics, graduated near the top of my class, earned a free ride to get my master's degree, and have gone on to do physics in the Air Force for 23 years. Don't ever let anybody tell you what you can't do. And part of the reason so many of us have financial legacies that end up in the cemetery is because we've been listening to too many people tell us what we can't do. I would like to say that my life has been a life of rainbows and unicorns, and I've stood strong in every challenge that I faced, drawing on those early struggles in my life. But I tell you, I had another struggle. You might think, my goodness, JJ, what is harder than that? Well, what's harder than that is giving up. Sometimes we face something and it changes our world forever. You heard that I came home from a divorce, $845,000 debt. Many military people come home from their trips, find a divorce, and lots of debt run over. But that's not the one that almost did me in. The one that almost did me in was getting rear-ended by a kid who was driving too fast in a rainy day, playing on his cell phone, trying to show off in front of his friends. That car accident gave me sustained cognitive and physical damage. Whenever I tried to answer questions, the words wouldn't come out of my mouth. If I finally got to a point where I could get the words out of my mouth, you might ask me, what is this, JJ? And my mind would take a few minutes, but it would say come. But what would come out of my mouth is phone. Anybody ever been in an impossible situation where you can't get what you want and you can't advocate for yourself? Here I am. This Air Force physicist fought for everything in my life, fought to keep my family together with $800,000 in debt, and reports for the president on different things going on in different countries. And now I couldn't even make Monopoly change with my son. And you might think when you fight those impossible situations that my life is over, that I have no more hope, that it's done for. My legacy is over. And that's how I felt in that emergency room. But I'm here to tell you today, one of the reasons I share with you these stories from my life is not to impress you with how amazing I am, although I am pretty amazing. It's to impress upon you that life's limitations only stop you if you let them. I made up my mind that this wasn't going to be my life. Doctor appointment after doctor appointment, practically living in my hospital, needing to take out a room in the hospital just because it was too tiring to go from appointment to appointment. I made up my mind, found the right doctors, the right medicines, the right supplements, the right mindset. And what I found out in that moment was that it was about mindset. And the same mindset that got me up out of that situation, able to run a global company that helps people win with money, able to effectively parent my kids, and actually be nice to my husband. All of those skills are the same skills we need to leave a financial legacy. It all begins with our mindset and taking that first step. I know there's a lot of money in this room because you can't even drive here without spending money. But one thing that I have found when it comes to my higher earning clients is that it's not about how much money we make. It's about what we do and our intentionality. And a lot of times we think, oh, well, if I could just make a little more, if I could just get a little more, man, if I could just eat a few more of these desserts without putting on weight, my life would be amazing. Oh, if I could just get this person on my side, if I could just this person to smile at me, if I could just get this person to open up a door for me. But it's not about your back. It's not about who you started off. It's not about your genetics. It's not about which side of the street you were born on. I had every one of those things going against me, and yet here I am today. 13 years from that horrible divorce, and 5 years after that accident, most people wouldn't even know that I went through all the things that I went through. And so I'm going to give you 3 quick tips that are going to help you make the change in your life, change the momentum, the financial momentum in your life so that you can have a financial legacy. Financial legacy isn't just about money in the bank. It's about the ability to create and attract wealth into your life, to create and attract relationships into your life, to create and attract the things that you want in life. And I'll tell you one thing that I found out when I was in that hospital. I realized my rate didn't matter. I mean, I was proud of my rate. The money that I had in the bank didn't matter. Thankful for the money I had in the bank. Thankful for the investments in the financial management so that I could keep my family living when I couldn't run my side business anymore. But the most important thing to me was what legacy was I going to leave in the lives of my children? What legacy had I passed on to them? Had I spent 20-something years at that point chasing after dreams and never thinking about what happens when I leave? And you may not have made that mistake today, but I sure had, and so did many of the people that I've worked with over the years. So the very first thing I'm going to tell you about financial legacy and why it's never too late to leave a financial legacy is because you can start today and do something that makes a difference for generations. Whether that making a difference for generation is sowing a seed into somebody else's life, or whether that making a difference for generation is simply taking care of your financial future. How many of us have been trapped in cycles of generational scarcity We helped our mom because she helped us and sacrificed for us. And then when it's our turn, our children have to sacrifice for us. But wouldn't it be so much more effective if we could break that cycle, turn things around? And now we have a forward movement. We have forward momentum. We're looking to what can be done in the future instead of always stressing out about the past. You might say, well, JJ, you have spent a lot of time setting the foundation for this. How are you going to help us leave financial legacy in 5 minutes or less? I'm going to tell you, because the number one key to leaving a financial legacy is intention. I know some of you thought I was going to say, learn how to manage your money and come hire me as your financial planner. I know that's what you thought. I'll get to that. Don't worry. I'm going to get to that. The number one thing is intention. See, intention and being intentional about what I want to get out of life, it colors every decision that we make. Being intentional about this is the life I want in 10 years. It's not just, and it's really not just money. It's every facet of life, but it all relates to financial legacy. If I hadn't had the vision of wanting to be able to play Monopoly with my son again, I wouldn't have had the vision and the intention to guide me when it was tough to lift my hands and to go through the physical therapy and to go through the cognitive therapy and to go to the driving exposure therapy and all the millions of kinds of therapy they throw at you so you feel better about being useless. But I don't even want my life to be useless. And I know you don't want your life to be useless either. At the end of the day, we want our lives to have meant something. At the end of the day, we want people to be able to say that we mattered. And today we matter. And we matter to more people than we think. But for too many of us, we're going here, and we're going here, and we're going here, and we're going here. And sometimes somebody has something good to say, so we go back here. All of our efforts are being dispersed about. But if we will get focused and intentional about what we want, it will guide everything else and give us the strength to persevere. My next two tips for you are really quick because they're things you know. You know, there's a lot of things we know. I joke about being a cream puff because I'm trying to get my weight back together. I joke about the desserts because I'm working on avoiding sugar. We already know those things. Those things are not the reason we don't have the health and strength we want. It's the intentionality to do it. So it's the same with money. It's the intentionality. This is what I want my legacy to be. In 5 years from now, this is the difference I want to make. In 5 years from now, this is the person I want to be. In 10 years from now, this is what I want to say. When they go to hold my funeral, my homegoing service, this is what I want people to say about my life. That's the intentionality. But it also takes wealth management skills. And that's why I would encourage you to learn about how money works. I would encourage you to learn how money works and how it can work for you and how others are making money off of you when you're not intentional about your life. So that's tip number 2. Tip number 3. This is going to surprise people. But tip number 3, you can have a wealthy life starting right now. You can have a wealthy, abundant life starting right now. It doesn't require more. It's about how you interact with the world. If you were to go onto my Facebook channel, I know a lot of us aren't in Facebook anymore, but if you were to go onto my Facebook channel, you look back from post in 2009, you would never know I was $800-something thousand in debt because I had a full, abundant life. And a full, abundant life that's colored by prosperity not only means that there's enough for everybody. See, I hope I have just 30 more seconds here. It doesn't just mean there's enough for everybody. We know there's enough for everybody. The grass grows and covers up the sidewalks. The trees grow and you can't count the leaves. The sand, you can't count the number of grains of sand. Abundance is all around us. The problem isn't that there's not enough. It's that we don't believe there's enough for us. And so I'm going to challenge you today to think beyond abundance to prosperity, which says there's enough for everyone, and some of that is for me. And if you will follow these 3 tips, you will leave a financial legacy. Your life will account for something and mean something. And at the end of the day, your resources, your potential will not be buried in that cemetery. I'm JJ Conway. Thank you so much for your time.